Oh, yeah, there we go. All right. This is DJ John live out of Detroit. Listen, we have got a guest with us today here on our show, and he's one of the most undisputed top recording engineers in the world.
Hey, JC, no, no, no,
Oh,
no, no,
yes, you are.
no,
I,
no, no. I'm not. I'm good at what I do. This is what I do, and but I'm different, and so there you go. But your uncle is different. Go ahead.
well, yes, but that's not the point. The point is that with your books and your research, and you're a phenomenal man. You've got, and I know how humble you are, and as me as well, with all my background and everything. But it's okay. It's all right. You're one of
Yeah,
the top dogs, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Really, what I wanted to talk about was the positions of, I deal with a lot of independent band people and or indie artists. I'll say it that way. A lot of them are in this uh, business trying to figure out where to go and who to talk to, who. Now I'm not into all that just yet, but um,
you,
the
you're
what?
you're hitting it on the head.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, yeah, I know, and this is for them. This is for them because if somebody wants to, if somebody's got a group out and they've got some music, and I've got 400 or 500 pieces of excellent music recorded. Some of them are recorded very well, some of them are not, but that's okay. And so the audio engineer, the producers, the directors, if there are any such thing in the music industry, those are the kind of positions I wanted to talk about. I mean, for instance,
Sure.
I've got
Great.
people out here. It's really, I think it's stupid. They pay DJs to get on and do interviews. I mean, that's pathetic.
Hmm.
But I mean, they should be paying them if any money's being exchanged. But I've got people out there that they're calling producers. Now these are people that sit in the studio. They get the backtrack all set up for the recording artist to come in and do the recording, and they're paying them to do this, and they're calling themselves producers. Now I want to know if
Right.
that's a legitimate title for somebody like that.
Oh God. First of all, I'm going to backtrack to all you guys out there. My name's Dave. David Miles Huber is the name,
Yeah,
and
sorry.
to most of you, I'm Dave, except for the guy who I have on the phone right now
Hmm.
is to you guys known as DJ John, right?
Right,
DJ.
absolutely.
Yeah. However, to me, he's JC. I'm his uncle. And so there you go. So yeah, and JC is awesome.
Yes.
Anyway, so now let's get to the thing because you really did. Um, wow. I mean, I've been in the industry for a very long time and have seen the industry sort of change through all the different.
Well, yeah, at least 40 or so
Uh,
years, 45 years maybe.
More than that, JC,
Well, I'm not going back to when we were
and
in your living room recording the TV and all that, but yeah,
but I've been this professionally for a very long time,
absolutely.
and I am a producer. Really, I'm way more of a producer than a musician. But but I use the word producer in my own way. That is, I make things. I produce things, as in I make things,
Okay.
and so and to me that's what a producer is somebody who makes things and sort of like it can be a book, it can be an album, it could be whatever kind of a project. And so, whenever somebody says I'm a producer, I'm not sure most people, even in the industry, know what the hell that means. And basically, to me, a producer is somebody, like I said, who makes things, but is also worked at their craft and understands their craft and does their craft. And uh, and it's so easy, like you're hinting at, for people to just put on this cap and go, okay, I'm now a producer, and off you go. And that's cool because you have to start somewhere.
Right. Right.
But also that idea of being a producer also really, it has so many different levels of what it can be, of what one can be. Are you working solely on the music? Are you bringing the music, the best music, out of the musician to create to frame the project in the best way, which is probably one of the more traditional modern views of a producer, is to work on the project from a musical standpoint, from a creative standpoint, and to frame it the best so it creates this statement that either reflects the artist's uh, vision, the record company's vision, or the producer's vision.
Okay.
In my case, I am totally, without question, a chief bottle washer. I do the entire stages, and we can go into that a little bit later if you want to. But I do the entire step,
Right.
all the different stages and stuff. And right now, actually, I'm actually doing sort of mastering right now. I'm finishing up a major project, which is really, really different.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the questions that you had for me, in a way, was you also hinted at what is the state of the industry, and and the state of the industry, of course, is in shambles, and
Well, yeah.
it can be viewed as in shambles, or it can be viewed as, hey, I'm Mr. or Miss Nobody, and I can create my own thing and I can get it out there. Whereas before, Mr. or Miss Nobody could never have gotten their stuff out there on their own. So it's either in shambles or it's a renaissance. It's entirely up to your viewpoint. What is your viewpoint
Yeah.
on this?
I mean, and not to cut you off on that, but my
Yep.
big point on this is, I mean, I've got guys out there, and I really want you to hear this guy. I got Ghostly Beard, I got Erica, I got some of these other people that are really, they're sitting at home, and they're making it. They're doing a lot of the music on their computer, some of it live, some of them play the guitar to their music, but then they get the programs that they can go in and make the drum tracks, or they can use the
Right,
keyboard
right.
to do the cymbals and all that, and it turns out to be awesome. I mean, these are
Exactly.
home studio recording people,
Yeah.
and it's not
Eh,
like they're in a professional, $3 million studio, and it
Well,
sounds excellent.
yeah, exactly. And so here's another thing. I'm going to give you. Yeah, God, we talked about a half an hour, but God knows what this. So we talked about the idea of I have this explanation, really, of the evolution of the recording industry, and it started out in the home. With the piano, before recording, before radio, before records, before any of that, it was all the piano in the living room,
Right.
and
And
it was usually the daughter or the wife or whatever playing and then all of a sudden sheet music started coming along, and that started with, in the US, that was Tin Pan Alley in New York, and then in London, was the music district of London, and all that stuff, and that started the idea of literally publishing. What does publishing mean? Publishing means, really, at the beginning, it meant sheet music.
right.
And then it became the record, then it became the radio, then it became the da 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 da, and then it became what it is now. But it started out in the home, and then when it became publishing, then when we got into radio and the recording studio, it was completely yanked out of the home and bought into the arena, or the area of the professional studio. It was jammed. It was ripped away from the home, and said, "We're the professionals. We know what to do. Now we're going to make the music and sell it to you." And then all of a sudden, the internet came along, and really it all started with the integrated circuit.
Right. Right. Right.
And it was like it all started working its way back to the home, where the recording studio is now affordable. I'm sitting in a killer from hell recording studio now, in a home that is, relatively affordable and killer. It would run rings around the studios that would have been 20 years ago.
Oh yeah.
And and so, okay, now, so there's that. The big questions, because I'm faced with this right now. I am faced with this right now, and that is what to do,
Mm-hmm.
which is what the question that most people have: what the hell do I do?
Right.
And most people would go, okay, you're going to get it out on iTunes, you're going to get it out on CD Baby, or you're going to get it out on what's the other one? There's a really good one that basically aggregates and gets it out to the different online vendors, sort of. And I'm working on a project right now, JC, that actually is over 25 years old.
Wow.
It's Haida. I don't know if you remember this, but this is from forever ago. And I basically sort of finished it like a long time ago when hard drives were just getting started. And it's a killer project. And I always known it was a killer project, and I've let it sit on the shelf. And its time has now come.
And this is yours?
This is mine.
Okay, that's what I want to hear.
And there are two projects, and I call them epics because these guys are big. They're sonically big. They're musically big. They're conceptually big.
Mm-hmm.
And so, so do you let something like that? So for me, this idea of putting it on, people go, oh, you put it on iTunes or put it on this or putting it on that. No, I can't, because this project deserves more than just being in the sea of all of the different, it's okay to throw yourself into the great ocean of media. I won't even say music, of media.
Right.
But this one is one of those that deserves more. I know everybody says that, but this one does.
Yeah. No.
And I have friends and contacts literally all over the world, and I started pulling in contacts. And one of my best friends, who lives in Spanish, living in Paris, and is now moving to LA, and is going to completely tear LA up because he's just that kind of a guy. Yeah. He's just so awesome. Mm-hmm. But he is going, don't go with the major label. I was wanting to go with Sony.
Okay.
And wanting to try to do Sony on this, because traditionally the projects that have been done in the past that are at this level have been Sony. Is
A&M still on? I mean, is A&M still out there? Do you know?
To some degree, okay. But it'd be, it's Universal Music and Sony is, if they're not even owned by the same. I don't think they are. And still, I think there are only two major, really, when you get down to it, there are only two.
Yeah.
And however, there are some other ones, and so there are options, but it gets crazier than this. So I was wanting to do Sony, and my buddy goes, Dave, just don't.
Okay.
And because they're not going to do anything, because they have no power. I mean, if you're a Taylor Swift, yeah. If you're the whoever in the hell, the big guys, yeah.
Well, no, wait a minute. No, we've got to go back and fashion you a little bit. We got to tell the people about you. I mean, you've got what, 4 gold records out?
No, they're Grammy nominated, but no, they're Grammy nominated, and it's different. It's like I just do my stuff. I work really hard at it,
okay.
and I get it out there, and it does get received, and it's interesting, and it's really, I consider it good. Other people do too. But this project is just entirely different. It is entirely different than anything that I've done before.
Wow.
And like I said, it's 25 years old.
Yeah.
But I've refashioned it now into a modern. I haven't changed it, mm-hmm. but I have. The technology obviously has changed, and my abilities and my capabilities have changed.
Oh, yeah.
And but the other thing is, on this project, I'm working with a company, or who knows what, working with a company in Amsterdam, and then there's a friend of mine in Deutschland, in Hamburg, Germany to you guys, Deutschland to me,
Mm-hmm.
so there's something that I've been interested in for a long time is the idea of 360 domes, where you do 360 projections in domes. And a buddy of mine in Hamburg happens to be connected with domes, and stuff. But this project lends itself completely to visuals. So, and actually to VR technology. I mean, so you're looking at a standard record, which is completely not a standard record, and it wasn't a standard record even then, and now it's like completely non-standard, and that's its strength. And and we will see. I mean, the beginning piece is a 40-piece Norwegian choir, with solo piano. It's like, and it's a 5-minute friggin' intro, with this background pad and and piano and a Norwegian choir doing this drone. It's just, and then the project just from there it just becomes, so it just takes off in different directions. And so my thing is different. So most people go, hey, how in the hell do I get it out there? And and probably in that it's the usual traditional throw it out there with the CD Babies to this, that. There's another company that's just so much better than CD Baby, and I can't remember them right now.
Well, let me ask you this, and I don't mean to interrupt your thought patterns, but you had, I guess, your first 3 big records. Didn't you sell them to Walmart?
Well, my first stuff was relaxational. It was
Right.
It was chill, and those did sell over 1 million copies. And I'm not even talking about those, but
Well, that's gold. That's a gold record there. I mean,
yeah, I guess you're right.
yeah, 500,000
So you know,
a gold
they
record.
were everywhere. I mean, they were everywhere. Um, by the way, for those of you who are interested, that word is DistroKid. DistroKid, would be a really, really good way of getting your music out to a lot of different sales aggregators. Basically, it just gets your stuff out there.
I've never heard of it. That's good to know. Never heard of it.
Oh yeah, DistroKid's one of the main ones. So yeah. So it, and you just do have to, you do what you do, and I do it for the love of what I do. I don't do it to be famous. I don't do it to this, and I do it because this is what I do.
Right.
And it's who I am, and it's and when you come to projects like these, it's like, wow. So then I'm finishing I do my own mastering, so I'm finishing up. Actually, this is what I'm in the process of doing right now.
Right.
Is doing finishing up the mastering on the stereo version.
Right.
And
yeah, because what I was going to say was the stuff that you're talking about with the dome stuff and all that. I mean, my God, people would get this and they're going to put it in a CD player.
Yeah, except but as you know, I work in
Surround,
different forms. Yeah, I work in surround, and now the new word on that is immersive. Where there's it's actually in 5.1, which is surround, and there's 9.1 where you add height channels. I work with a company in Belgium where you add height channels to that, and these domes actually do this. So you can actually have 8.0. You'd have 4 channels on the ground, 4 channels in the air is one format for that. Completely wacky, but for me this is second nature. I mean, to do these mixes, but of course I'm working on the stereo mixes right now, and then I get this, and for me the stereo mixes, then once I get the stereo mixes roughly done, then I have a core group of about 5 people who are around the world who I will send around, and they become part of my feedback team.
Right.
And these guys are, each and every one of them are like, oh my God, people. And, so you get this feedback team, and then, probably working with my buddy in LA, it'll be to how do we do this on a business level. But I have a call tomorrow with Amsterdam, blah blah blah, just talking. So you start doing the shuffle. You start, once I had the music sort of roughly, I can play it for them and be proud of the stereo mix. Then I start going, okay, how the hell do we get this? What the hell do we do with it?
Right.
What do we do with it?
Right.
And I'm talking seriously, and so it's not obviously then therefore the word is this is not easy. This is not an easy time where a hamburger is way more worth it to us. A 99-cent hamburger is worth a lot more to somebody than your music.
Yeah, and I do understand that, because and a lot of people are having trouble. I mean, they go on iTunes and stuff, and they put their stuff out. They get like 60 downloads, and this and that, and they
Yeah.
it's like, why am I bothering? But
Right.
the point is, it's getting out there. And the other thing is, and I keep telling people, I know you've been doing this, but I don't know about now. But the big thing is that the best thing, I think, and it's just my opinion, that I've seen with the professionals, is they go out and they do an album in the studio. Okay, fine. Well, then and I'll say this, their producers say, okay, look, we're not satisfied with this, because we need to get you out there. So they go out and they take their album on the road.
Mm.
They got to get it out there. They got to get it heard. So they go out and do that. And that, I don't know, is for indie artists, it's a good thing to start out with, like small county fairs and this and that they can get into in some venues to get their and to sell their product too, but to get their name out there and get it heard. That's the important thing for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know Colonel Tom Parker with Elvis, when Elvis got started with him. He used to, and this is so stupid, but it's ingenious. He used to call a hospital and have Elvis page to the phone, even though he wasn't there. But it would go out over the intercom, and he'd call up a shopping mall and have Elvis, page to the phone, and stuff like that. And then you got 1,300 people sitting in the mall or in the hospital going,
Right.
who's this Elvis guy?
Right.
And then the next thing is, oh, I've heard that name. I don't know where, but I've heard that name. Boom. Let's go see him. Especially if it's free at a county fair or something. And then they go see him, and then he gets more popular, more popular, more popular. I mean, that's just.
But still, in this day and age, But the industry in Elvis's time was Elvis's time.
Well, yeah.
It was the Beatles' time. Was the Beatles' time. It's very different now.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and so yeah. I mean, and you're right. It's like it in on that some level, you say, it's like, what's the gimmick that I can use to get people's attention?
Right.
And and of course everybody's doing gimmicks, so and stuff. And so who Grace Jones is, right?
Oh, yes.
I just finished reading her book, and it's called I Will Never Write My Memoirs.
Uh-huh.
And God, I love reading books about musicians. I love, because it gives the inside, what is an inside thought about them.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. And this book is really about, it's about her, but it's also, obviously you get the insights into who she is. And it's like, and she's like, this is who I am. I can't be a Madonna. And she actually goes, when you think about it, Madonna's actually trying to be me. It's like all these people were trying to emulate her. She goes, I can't be that other person, because
Right.
this is who I am.
Yeah.
And so, and people do get swept away with trying to be the next whatever, or be somebody else, or I want to copy that person so I can do that, which is probably one of the worst things you can do. It's the best thing you can do is to be yourself, which I have no option. I cannot be anybody else than who I am. I'm technically, creatively, anything. I have to be me. And yeah. And but it's so true. I can't, and nor do I want to, be somebody else. And I think that whole thing of why are you in this in the first place?
Right.
To be creative, and who knows, one of these days, things might turn around, and this might become a culture and a world,
Right.
especially the culture, the U.S. culture, that will turn around to value positive things, as in the arts. Because think about it: if you take away music, you take away film, you take away the arts, what would the world be like without the arts?
Oh no, I understand. Yeah, totally. And it's just this whole thing. It goes back to I'm a Netflix junkie, and I get on there and there's a ton of documentaries now on musicians, or well,
Yeah,
like the Beatles and the Eagles and different, the drummer from the band and all these
right.
people, all these very famous people, which is cool, and I like watching it because it gives me an insight about, and I grew up with the Eagles. I grew up with some of this stuff, and so did you, obviously, but it had an
Actually,
impact.
no, I didn't, but okay.
Well, who had the most influence on your music?
Igor Stravinsky.
Really?
Yep.
Well, that's something. That's something.
Yeah, not your typical guy. You should know that.
No, no,
But
no. Well, I mean, like Alan Parsons. I mean, I loved him when he first came out. I know.
yeah.
I've always loved him.
No, Alan's awesome. He's awesome. I've actually, I've gotten to sort of know him
Yeah.
and stuff. I've gotten chances to hang out and stuff like that. And oh boy, But anyway, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, you with Alan, me with Vince Gill, and I mean, we've all had, we've all not all. We've had these go rounds, and
But
also I want to make a special shout out to your brother.
to Lair,
He's known as Cousin Larry, I think, on his show.
no, God, forgot. Come on, cousin Oliver.
Oh, is he Cousin Oliver? Oh, okay.
He's always been cousin Oliver.
I didn't know. Is that his middle name?
No,
Okay.
JC, come on,
No,
Oliver.
I know who that is, but I'm not saying that. I didn't. I'm saying I didn't know where he picked up the name. I know he picked up
Well,
from his dad, but I'm not talking about that.
yeah,
Or your dad. But I'm
from
talking.
your grandfather.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought he was
No, he's
using his
cousin
own.
Oliver.
Okay, well, that's cool.
Always has been. Anyway, so Larry, cousin Oliver, out of Richmond, he moved back from D.C. and wanted to go back home to his roots. God knows why, but he did, and that's all right. Go ahead, Larry, you do it. And
No,
and
but he's doing great. I got to give him credit for his own show on in Richmond.
oh God,
Yeah,
he's so awesome, and he gives them he doesn't throw them the usual Indiana. I mean, it's what Richmond, Indiana. It's like and he gives them a little bit of cornfield,
yeah.
but then he throws in total curveballs,
I know.
total curveballs. So you'd be listening to cornfield country, and then all of a sudden, bam, you're like, what the hell just happened? Who am I listening to? And you get this unbelievable stuff. And so Larry, because Larry's he's an amazing guy. So yeah, so he makes his impact in his own way, and couldn't be more proud.
Oh no, he's a great guy. I love him to death. But yeah, I just if we pass this on to him to play, I want him to be recognized.
Yeah.
But the whole thing. I mean, the family never was all that musical. I mean,
Yeah.
your mother played the
guess
piano, right?
Well, hell if I sort of, I mean, she died when I was 19. Remember that?
Well, yeah, I do. I was 9. You were 19.
Yeah. So there you go. So I actually don't really, I guess that's true. I know about as much as you do I know as much about my mother as you know about your grandmother, but which is probably not that much on both of our cases.
No, that's true.
But I do remember, Connorsville, Indiana, middle of nowhere. This guy who, at the age of whatever the hell, was just super into recording. It's like, where in the hell did this come from?
Right, exactly.
Because ever since you were born, you've known that Dave recording.
Well, you gave me my first reel-to-reel tape recorder back in the day, and I was only 7 years old.
Yeah, so dude, and so it's always been that way. I've just been super focused on it, and so yeah. I mean, this is what I've always done, and it's fun. It's given me quite the life. The connection to people around the world and go to conventions and hey, and this and that and the other thing, and you get to know so many people, and it's been good.
Yeah, well, it's like me on ham radio. I mean, I picked up and I started talking to Bob Heil. I mean, and
Mm-hmm.
Bob, the
A microphone. I actually don't, but a microphone maker.
Yeah, but the guy with the purple
stuff.
shoes at your convention and all that.
Yeah.
I mean,
But so yeah. Anyway, let's get back to let's not drift too far. So what else is sort of interesting to talk about?
well, again, I go back to, like, I don't know, I'm not going to star in it, but I'm getting ready to be in a movie coming up here in Detroit, and yeah,
Go for it.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what the part is yet, but I got chosen for a part, and so I'm going to do it. But anyway, and it's a speaking part, evidently. But in TV and movies, when they call producers, no, normally they're the money men. They're the
That would
money
be
men.
executive producer and stuff like that. But the money people, yeah. I mean, it's like, I think the money people traditionally have been in music has been the record labels.
Right. Oh, yeah, and that's what I'm getting at. And then you have what I would call an artistic director. But and
which
TV
is the
one
producer,
thing.
right?
Okay, so you're calling that a producer in music, because that's the person who puts the voice with the music or style with the music and says, okay, this is going to work for you.
And then you get people who know their vision enough that they say, I am my own producer, which is the case with me. But you get some people who go, I know my stuff better than anybody else possibly could.
Well, yeah.
But then for me, it's like, as you know, because as we just hinted at, I started like so young, and I knew the tech, I started in the analog era, but I grew into the digital era really quickly. And then with all the new tools and the new toys, for me, it was like, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, and so I just learned it really quickly. And so, I considered an advantage of knowing the technology. I started with the technology first, then the music came later. And I feel sort of sorry about musicians who don't have an understanding at all about technology.
Right.
At least the technology of recorded sound. So it's, for me, I feel really, really fortunate that it's like that the technology for me is not a barrier.
Right.
And I think that's important to, and then also the idea of second guessing yourself. And so this is where you turn to somebody else to go, would you do this for me? Would you, and then it goes further. It's like, would you choose these songs? How much do you give up? Would you choose these songs for me? Would you do this for me? Would you do that? And then all of a sudden you just keep giving up. It's like, no, I'm way too much of a control freak. This is what I am going to be damn well doing. But there's room for all different types, obviously.
Well, yeah, I appreciate that. Now we're sitting here on the air with David Miles Huber, a great producer, a great performer even. I mean, you've performed live and you do things. And
thinking about getting back into it, trying to decide. Don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, that would be cool. But one of the and I have to say this, Dave, you are one of the top engineers in the world because of the way.
I'm different. I'm different in the way that I do things. There aren't that many of them. I'm certainly not one of the top engineers in the world. I mean, that is just not true. However, in the way that I do what I do, there is so few people who can do what I do, because what I do things in a different way, but I do it for my own projects, so that's just different than being a recording engineer. One of the things that I learned for me when I was young, and stuff, and I went to school in England and stuff, and came back to the US and all that crap, and I sat behind a recording console working for musicians and stuff, and I was like, I hate this. I spent my entire life, as you know, wanting to become a recording engineer.
Yeah.
And then I became a recording engineer, and I went, I friggin' hate this.
Right.
I hate this. So the one thing that I geared my life up for completely, up until I was 23 years old or 20 years old, whatever, I was like, this friggin' sucks. And why did it suck? It sucked because I was working on other people's music and not my own, especially music I didn't like. And so when I was sitting behind a console recording stuff that I didn't like with people that I didn't quite relate to. Didn't I went, no, this is not what I do. And then that's where I realized that I had to start creating my own music and start working. But unfortunately, that just sort of happened. And then I'm able to work on my own stuff. So I'm not an engineer where I sit down and record other people's stuff because I hate it.
No, but Dave, no. I'm not going to take that, because how many books have you written?
A lot.
Okay, and how many recording books have you written that are actually out there in colleges and universities that people use?
A lot. Yeah.
Okay, so
for those of you out there, Modern Recording Techniques, which is the standard book in schools and colleges and MRT, Modern Recording Techniques, that's my book.
Right.
So yeah.
I mean, that's and how many people are out there doing it? I mean, you can't. I realize what you're saying. I do. I realize that, Sony and A&M and all these other people have got people that they pay, hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, well, hundreds, tens, whatever, $1 million to sit there and record whatever. And in these studios that are $3 and $5 million. But okay, fine, you've got that out there, but you're head and shoulders above these people because of your knowledge in the industry. I mean, I know you can say that I'm not going to sit there and produce a record for Crystal Gale. Okay, fine. It's not your style. It's not your thing. And you could, but it's not your thing. But the point is that you're really good at what you do and the knowledge in the industry of what you do. That's why
I would say, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I say you're one of the tops.
Anyway.
I know, Mr. Humble. Stop.
So yeah, well, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, sorry. For those of you out there, just start learning, get the tools, get the toys, do your stuff. Workstations. If you want to talk about stuff like that, I'm a Nuendo guy, which basically for most of you means Cubase, so you don't have to use Pro Tools, you don't have to use Pro Tools, and stuff, just choose your equipment really carefully. For me, that's like you said, I just know it so well that I've learned how to choose stuff really carefully. But there's so many things out there now, but you still have to choose things carefully.
Well, yeah.
Go
ahead.
Technology can be a lot of fun.
Yeah, what I was going to get at was, I do know Emery Gordy Jr. and aside from his other background, he's got one of the biggest recording studios in Nashville, and he's Patty Loveless's husband. But I sat down and had a chat with him face to face one day, and we talked about his studio, and he uses Cubase too, and he's and another thing, he was really hooked on the Apple computer, vice the Microsoft stuff.
Yeah. So
I don't know if that's a thought process or not.
It's a complete no-brainer. I call it who cares. I am a PC guy, and I happen to know a lot of really major people who are PC people. Mm-hmm. So, but if you're a Mac, it's like if you go PC meh, or Mac meh, it's like who cares? It's like they both get the job done. They both do their thing, and so who cares what? That doesn't matter.
Okay, I wanted your opinion on that because that was kind of interesting for listeners out there. Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing that I don't get is that why Apple is not embracing new technologies, which Windows for Touch, for example, and and the VR technologies and all the technologies that Windows is totally opening up to, and the Mac just goes no. And I don't quite understand that, So yeah.
It's cool. It's cool. There's so many places in the business, and you mentioned this other place, and I can't remember the name of it now. I'm sorry, I have sometimers disease. About where these people put up their music, CD something or something like that.
CD Baby is one. God, what's the name of the other one now? God, do I have to look it up again? Hang on.
You're as bad as I am. I know.
Well, I just don't, I use it, but I don't use it all the time, right?
Right, right.
And so see if I can remember it before it comes up. I doubt it.
Don't worry about it. But
No, because it's important for people to know. DistroKid. Yeah.
distro. Okay.
Distro as in distribution. DistroKid. It's really good, and for a lot of reasons. So that's
Okay.
one for getting it out. Anyway, back to your thought.
No, that was it. I wanted to get this out there for the reiterate it for the
Yeah,
for the people.
DistroKid. It's a certain price for a year, and then they basically you just down you upload your music, and then it will just send it off to everybody, iTunes, everybody. It just shoots it off to all the different ones, and it does it quite well and stuff. But again, don't expect really to get paid or paid very much. And and again, with this era of when we if I don't want to get into this, but the idea of streaming and stuff like that, which doesn't pay. It's not that it doesn't pay very much. It pays less than not very much, and as in next to nothing. So this is why I say, artists, a McDonald's hamburger is worth much more than your music. But the thing is that's not really true, because your music is, I still buy CDs. That's still my preferred way of buying music,
Yeah.
and and then I will copy it and stuff like that, and so I still prefer to have the actual disc, and the idea of uploading and downloading, and also streaming. It's all cool, but it's not the way that I like to do it. I actually like to put more of a mental value on it and also I also really really value the idea of albums over the idea of the song. To me, it's like, is an album strong? If a song is strong and then you don't care about anything else, to me, that's like, that doesn't work. To me, it's the album.
Right. And back in the day, and I know this, they used to put 2 or 3 strong songs on there, and then the rest was fillers.
Right.
And I can understand that to a point. And then a specific song goes like crazy, and so everybody goes out and buys the album just to get the song.
Yeah, but those don't tend to stand out over the ages. It's like Roxy Music's Avalon, Sergeant Pepper. It's like and you just get these really strong albums that Deep Forest. You get these really strong albums that hold up on their own as an album, and that is when you can really sort of get into the intent of the artist and the production team and all that stuff, and that's, for me, those are the ones that I cherish, and I never play songs. I always play albums. That's just me.
Really? Wow, I hit my cough button. That's incredible. Now, let me ask you. I mean, you told me who your influence was, but what do you like to listen to? I mean, what's your favorite album? And I know it probably changes year to year.
I like to, obviously, I love to listen to classical.
Yeah.
Classical is my absolute favorite, and my radio station is RBB, Radio Brandenburg Berlin. So my station that I listen to is in Berlin. So, but then I also love to listen to swing music, which is really really fun. Mm-hmm. And then I will go off to the other side and I will listen to electronic and stuff. And so I like electronic music, and also like I said, the strong projects, the Roxy Avalon's, my phone is not around. Roxy Music's Avalon. Wow, I mean, there's just so many projects. Also, I love to listen to Deutsch rap. I love to listen to German rap. It can be, which is just entirely a different animal than American rap. They have nothing besides the language is different, but they have nothing in common with each other. Right. It's Deutsch rap is all about fun. It's just a huge sense of fun. Right. And I love that. It's fun it's nice when there's fun in music. So yeah, and then electronic stuff is just a hell of a lot of fun as well. So it's sort of all over.
Oh, that's awesome. David, I really appreciate your time here. I'm not trying to cut you off or anything, but we're not even
Yeah, no,
talking
cut
about
me off.
finishing,
It's good.
but you know, I really appreciate your time and your effort that you put into this, and I'm glad your tooth is better.
Thank you. Yep.
But anyway, um, I'll wrap this up. This has been an interview with David Miles Huber, and I really appreciate him being here. Is there anything else you want to say in closing comments?
No, just that you're an awesome nephew.
No, I appreciate it very much, David. I do.